Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 18th installment of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links Best Decks series. Today I'm going to be showing you a deck based entirely around Gemini monsters. So a couple of things before the video starts. First of all, I'd just like to say this deck is not extremely competitive yet, but it's getting close to it. It's getting pretty consistent now, but I really like the idea of Geminis. They're really fun to use, great combo cards. So I'm quite excited for how Gemini decks will evolve in the future with more and more cards released. So the second thing I'd just like to talk about is regarding the World Championship Qualifier tournament thing. If you guys want me to do a wrap-up video of how I went, how I placed, what decks I used, just let me know in the comments below. I placed 47th and peaked at rank 13. So I think I did alright for the tournament, not the best, but I think I did alright for the amount of time I put into it compared to other higher ranked players. And without further ado, let's get on with the video. Alright, so the best character for this deck is Taya Gardner with the skill Dual Standby. This means at the start of the game, each player's starting hand is increased by 1 card. So it was a toss up between this skill and the skill Restart, because both increase the consistency of your starting hand, as this is a combo deck, so it's very reliant on having each of the combo pieces in your starting hand. But the reason I ended up with Taya Gardner over Restart is because Taya Gardner allows you to start with 5 cards in your hand guaranteed. Because if you were going second, you are guaranteed for 5 cards in your starting hand because you get 4 cards plus you get to draw 1. And if you start by going first, you only end up with 4 cards. Which for this deck is pretty bad, because this deck's ideal scenario is 3 monsters and 2 spells. It's kind of hard to explain why the ideal scenario is 3 monsters and 2 spells until I've kind of gone through the deck. So all you need to know for now is 3 monsters and 2 spells is the ideal scenario, and the easiest way to get that is by having 5 cards in hand guaranteed. Alright, so now I'll go through the deck list. Please excuse my pronunciation, I'm not very good with names. So this deck runs 3 Phoenix Gearfried, 3 Darkstorm Dragon, 3 Blazewing Butterfly, 3 Woodland Archer, 3 Polymerization, 2 Branch, 1 Smoke Grenade for the Thief, 1 Black Pendant, 1 Fusion Sage, and 3 Super Alloy Beast Raptinius. So the first thing I'd like to point out is this deck has 3 one-off cards. These one-offs are only one-offs purely because they are the same as another card in the deck or in place of another card in the deck. For example, Fusion Sage is just another Polymerization, and Black Pendant and Smoke Grenade of the Thief provide the exact same role, and I would have 2 Smoke Grenade of the Thieves, but you can only have 1 of them in the game at the moment. So those 2 cards are exactly the same, and the Fusion Sage and the Polymerization are exactly the same. The second thing I'd like you to notice about the deck is there's exactly 12 monsters and 8 spells. This is again to try and boost the chances of getting 3 monster cards and 2 spells in your starting hand. So try not to adjust the amount of cards in the deck too much. If you are going to adjust cards in the deck, I would suggest taking out spells and not taking out monster cards, because the monster cards are more important. Other than the polymerizations, which I'd say you have to have the 4 in the deck. If you don't have 4 polymerizations at least, this deck will become extremely inconsistent and you're probably going to lose every game you play. So just to recap, keep the 3 polymerizations in the Fusion Sage, and if you are going to change cards in the deck, change the Branches, the Smoke Grenade of the Thief, or the Black Pendants. Also, in case you didn't notice, the Super Alloy Beast Raptinius is separated from the main deck list. That's because the Super Alloy Beast Raptinius is the extra deck. It's the fusion monster you are fusion summoning with your polymerization. Alright, now I'm going to go through the strategy. The strategy for this deck is basically one big combo. So try to follow along. It's very simple once you've played it a few times, but it may sound a bit complicated as I'm going through it. At the end of the video there will be 2 separate gameplays for the 2 big Gemini monsters you'll be summoning using the combo. So if you don't understand how the strategy is with me explaining it, just watch the end of the video, it will show it off in action. It's very simple once you know how to do it, but me explaining it might be a little bit difficult to understand. Alright, so this is how the average game will go. Your hand should start off with 2 spells and 3 monsters. The ideal starting hand is 1 polymerization card, 1 face-up card, face-up spell card, 2 big Gemini monsters, or just 1, but preferably 2, and a blazewing butterfly or woodland archer. This allows you to do the full combo, which is polymerization using 2 Gemini monsters, which is preferably the 2 big Gemini monsters. You can use a smaller one as well, but it's just any Gemini monsters. This allows you to summon Super Alloy Beast Raptinius. What Super Alloy Beast Raptinius does is it makes all your Gemini monsters now be able to use their effect. So if you don't know what that means, Geminis, when you summon them, they're summoned as normal monsters, and you're allowed to re-summon them to be able to use their effect. What Super Alloy Beast Raptinius does is it means the Geminis you play do not need to be re-summoned. As soon as you play them, they're able to use their effect, which is very, very, very important for the combo. So now you're set up for the second half of the combo. Now you have 1 Super Alloy Beast Raptinius on the board, and you have 2 Gemini monsters in the graveyard. Preferably 2 big Gemini monsters. 1 is okay though. And the aim is to get Blazewing Butterfly on the board. What Blazewing Butterfly does is its effect allows it to be switched out with another Gemini monster from your graveyard. So you place it on the board, you sack it, and you get your Phoenix Gearfiend or your Darkstorm Dragon from your graveyard onto the board. If you don't have Blazewing Butterfly in your starting hand, another way to get it out of the deck is by using Woodland Archer. What Woodland Archer does is if you have 2 monsters in your graveyard, 2 Gemini monsters, which you should have due to your polymerization, you can special summon it for free. Which then you can use its ability, which sacrifices it and allows you to draw 1 Gemini monster from the deck, which will be your Blazewing Butterfly. Alright, so now that you've got your Blazewing Butterfly and you've used it to bring your Phoenix Gearfiend or your Darkstorm Dragon from the graveyard onto the board, you can finally do the final part of the combo. So the final part of the combo is simply to equip your equip spell to one of your monsters on the board, or summon your face-up spell, which will be Branch. This simply means that your 2 big monsters, Darkstorm Dragon and Phoenix Gearfiend, can now use both of their effects. What Darkstorm Dragon does is it targets 1 face-up spell you control, destroys it, and destroys every spell and trap your opponent controls. So effectively wiping their backline and making it a lot easier for you to swing at it with your cards to destroy their monsters and eventually their life points. What Phoenix Gearfiend does is it allows you to target an equip spell card when your opponent activates a spell or trap. During your turn or their turn, you can then target your equip spell, destroy it, and it will negate the effect of your opponent's cards. The second part of Phoenix Gearfried's ability is if your opponent activates a spell, it can summon a Gemini monster from your graveyard to the board, which can obviously be very strong as well, considering Blazewing Butterfly can only pull 1 card from your graveyard. Phoenix Gearfried can often pull the other one. Alright, so that's basically it for the combo. If you don't understand the combo yet, there will be gameplay at the end which will pretty much explain the whole thing just by looking at it. It's very easy once you've started using it. So if you don't understand now, don't worry, look at the gameplay. But for now, I'm going to go through every single card in the deck and say why exactly it's in there and go through each of the abilities again. Because there's quite a few little bonus effects that I've missed, especially around things like Smoke Grenade of the Thief and the Pendant. Alright, so I'll start off with the monster cards. The monster cards in the deck are Super Alloy Beast Raptinius, Phoenix Gearfried, Darkstorm Dragon, Blazewing Butterfly, and Woodland Archer. So each of these monsters is very important to the deck. Super Alloy Beast Raptinius is pretty much how you get around using the Gemini mechanic. It means you no longer have to use the Gemini mechanic and you're effectively like cheating in a way. So what the Gemini mechanic is when you play a Gemini monster, it will have none of its effects activated, it will just be a normal monster. The following turn you can then choose to re-summon the exact same monster whilst it's on the board, and it will then have its ability activated. So what Super Alloy Beast Raptinius does is it means that your Gemini monster will start off with its ability activated. So effectively it kind of cheats the ability, the mechanic Gemini. Phoenix Gearfried is one of 2 big Gemini monsters that this deck runs that are used to protect your monsters. Without either Phoenix Giftbride or Darkstorm Dragon, your monster will be very vulnerable to spells and trap cards, which is why they are both in the deck and what makes the deck semi-viable. So Phoenix Giftbride has two effects. The first, whenever your opponent casts a spell during their turn, you will be able to summon a Gemini monster from your graveyard. The second effect is, during either player's turn, you can destroy an equipped spell that you have to negate a spell or trap card your opponent activates. So the card is extremely defensive. If your opponent does choose to use spells, there's going to be a big price for him to pay, with you being able to summon anywhere between your Blazewing Butterfly back from the graveyard, a Darkstorm Dragon, even a Woodland Archer from your graveyard. So there is absolutely no way your opponent's going to want to be able to play spells once you've got Phoenix Giftbride on the board. Plus, if you do have one of your two negate spells in your hand, you will then be able to negate any spells and traps your opponent has. The second big monster in the deck is Darkstorm Dragon. This one's a lot more simple than Phoenix Giftbride, but effectively does the same kind of role. Basically, you play your Darkstorm Dragon, you can then choose to destroy a spell that you control, a face-up spell, and it will destroy every spell and trap your opponent controls, leaving them very vulnerable for you to swing with all your high attack monsters. This will both work with your branches and your equipped spells, as they're both face-up spells. Blazewing Butterfly is what you use after you've used your Polymerization to bring your Darkstorm Dragon or your Phoenix Giftbride back from the graveyard to the board. Its ability is fairly simple. What it does is it swaps itself with a Gemini monster in your graveyard, so it's a really easy way of getting a Phoenix Giftbride or a Darkstorm Dragon out on the board, as you just swap them in from your graveyard. Woodland Archer is effectively just 3 more Blazewing Butterflies, as that's the main card you'll be pulling from the deck using it. After you've used your Polymerization to summon your Super Alloy Beast Raptinius, there will be 2 monsters in your graveyard, and they'll both be Gemini monsters, both of which count as normal monsters when they are in your graveyard. What Woodland Archer's ability is, if there are 2 normal monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon it for free. It then has a secondary ability, which you can then sacrifice it to summon a Blazewing Butterfly from your deck to your hand, which obviously will be your Blazewing Butterflies. Then you can use them to bring your Phoenix Giftbride and your Darkstorm Dragons out onto the board. Alright, now I'll go through the spells and traps in this deck. The spells and traps are Polymerization, Fusion Sage, Branch, Smoke Grave of the Thief, and Black Pendant. So basically, Polymerization, if you don't know what that is, you need to play a bit more Yu-Gi-Oh before watching my videos. It's a basic mechanic of Yu-Gi-Oh, which is fusion monsters. It's the main card required in them. Just uses 2 fusion material monsters, combines them together to create your big fusion monster, which for this deck is Super Alloy Beast Raptinius. Probably the most important part about it is, with this deck in particular, is it will then send the 2 fusion material monsters to the graveyard, which with this deck you can then use obviously cards to summon them out and place them on the board. Fusion Sage is just simply a 4th copy of Polymerization. Just makes the deck a bit more consistent, as without Polymerization in your starting hand or in the first 2 turns, you're going to lose the game because you need Polymerization to work the deck, for the combo to work. So Fusion Sage just makes it a little bit more consistent if you run just 1 or 2 of them. Branch is a face-up spell, face-up continuous spell, which has the ability, when a fusion monster on the field is destroyed by battle or a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can then target 1 fusion material monster in your graveyard and return it to the board. So what Branch is simply it's a backup for if you are unable to use Blazewing Butterfly to get your big Gemini monsters out of your graveyard. As if your big fusion monster dies, this card will activate and you can then pull either one of your 2 big fusion monsters from the graveyard anyway. So it's kind of like a backup, as well as a card you can combine with Darkstorm Dragon to wipe your opponent's spell and trap card zone, which is its main purpose in the deck. But having this kind of side bonus just means that it's got your back if you run into that problem in the deck. This card will then fill the slot and still be able to give you a chance at the game and give you a kind of a weakened version of the combo. Smoke Grenade of the Thief and Black Pendant are effectively the exact same cards in terms of how this deck works. Both are equipped spells, so they both activate Gift Ride's ability to negate spells and traps, and they are both face-up spells, so they both proc Darkstorm's ability to destroy all spells and traps that your opponent controls. The good thing about these two cards compared to other equipped spells is they both have negative effects for your opponent. Black Pendant, when it is destroyed, it will deal 500 points of damage to your opponent's life points. So it's a fairly basic kind of negative effect for your opponent, but it can be a little bit effective later on to get a little bit of chip damage in to help finish off your opponent. Smoke Grenade of the Thief, on the other hand, is a little bit more strong. Keep in mind, Smoke Grenade of the Thief doesn't work with Darkstorm Dragon, it will only work with Gift Ride, as Darkstorm Dragon only sends the card to the graveyard, it doesn't technically destroy it. So Smoke Grenade of the Thief, when combined with Gift Ride's ability, allows you to look at your opponent's hand, look at their entire hand, and discard a card from it. So its negative effect is a lot stronger than Black Pendant's, but it's also a lot harder to get off as it only works with one of your big fusion Gemini monsters. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Please like, subscribe, comment, all those kinds of things. If you have any questions, put them down below. At the end of the video, as always, there will be gameplay for this deck if you don't understand quite how it works. There will be two gameplays today because I wanted to show off both the big Gemini monsters. I didn't just want to have gameplay for one of them. So if you want to see that, check it out. But as always, that's it for this week. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Duel